Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and it's the first Sunday in September, and coincidentally it's also the 1st of September, so it's time for my monthly garden tour, and of course things are starting to happen as we get into September, October, in that some of the plants are now starting to develop their fruits or put on their final flush of growth. So we'll start with, as I normally do with this side of the garden, have a look and see how the medlars are doing. Hasn't got as many fruits on it as it had last year. We had quite a lot of drop, so partly due to insufficient rain, partly due to I suppose animal damage actually on some of the fruits from the looks of things. Just next to it, have a quick look at my Crimson Bonfire peach, not looking too bad. Did suffer a lot of peach leaf curl, but it's recovered quite well. Didn't have any fruits on it again because of the peach leaf curl, which is very unfortunate. Now at the back you can see my unknown female kiwi berry that got cut away from the fence by my neighbour a little bit earlier in the summer, so I cut it back hard and it's recovering quite well. Hope you can hear me over the wind chimes in the background. It's a light breeze today. Moving on, tucked away behind the medlar is my in-ground citrus, which is still alive. No sign of any flower buds on it, and we still don't know whether or not it's the original rootstock, or if part of the grafted scion somehow survived. I can see it's putting out, possibly trying to put out another new flush of growth there. And now if any of these little flushes flowered, then we'd probably know what it is. Does smell citrusy, the leaves, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the Myers lemon, which was the original grafted scion. Behind it, some of the blueberries have been growing mad this year, although they didn't fruit heavily. They've sent up lots of new shoots. We're going to have to do a fair bit of pruning, I think, on those and tidying them up later in the season. The white mulberry, this one is Carmen, is starting to go dormant already. They seem to go dormant quite early on me, the mulberries. Possibly lack of water in the pots. I'm going to give everything a good soak soon. Next to it and in ground is of course my mammoth pineapple guava, or Feijoa. That's Aca Salawiana. Fruit development for the 1st of September's quite promising. These have got another 2 months growth ahead of them before they'll be ripe. And surprisingly, it's still got the odd flowering on it, but it's got quite a lot of fruits on it in different shapes and sizes. So obviously I'm going to get a few decent fruits this year, as long as the weather's kind. Behind it, I've got the male kiwi berry that I planted this summer to pollinate this one that's never set any fruits, and that's the idea. And that's grown right up to the top of the fence, so I'm quite happy with how that's going. And next to it on the ground is a little one of the Passiflora incarnata hybrids. Hasn't really taken off because it's not getting much sun there, but all I'm interested really in doing is seeing if it can survive the winter, and then we'll see what it does next year. Next to it is the seedling persimmon that I cut back hard. I had plans to top work it, but because of my health issues I never got round to trying to graft onto it, so it's grown like mad, and I might, all being well with myself, try and look at that again next summer and see what I do in the spring. This is my seedling pineapple guava. Fruits are very poor quality on it, small, round, no flavour to them, and oxidise very quickly. But I have been thinning I've taken a lot of the really small fruits off in the hope that I might at least get a few edible ones, even if I just use them for juicing or ice cream or a jam or something. Caesalpinia Gillesii next to it. It's putting on a fabulous display this year. What a great value for money ornamental shrub this is, if you live in an area where it survives the winters, because it doesn't It's not particularly cold hardy, but it seems to be okay here in the southeast. But it's just getting better and better this year, and I'll probably have to give it a good cut back when we get to the winter, because it's getting a little bit out of control size wise again. Next to it is my in-ground pomegranate. I have made a standalone video on this which I haven't put out yet. It's pretty much, it's got the odd flower bud appearing on it, but it really finished flowering 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's one tiny fruit on it that I don't think will come to anything, although it seems to have set. I decided to bag it to try and stop birds pecking at it. Butterfly bush behind there, been flowering, hopefully attracting bees to the garden. And on the fence behind is my Campsis or trumpet vine. It's looking fantastic this year, really good display, and the neighbour didn't cut that one down for whatever reason. Moving back to this side in ground here, this is my Triumph pineapple guava. Again, it's got some quite reasonable sized fruits on it developing. They're looking good for the end of August, beginning of September. Hasn't got many fruits on it this year because I cut it back quite hard, but it still looks like it's going to have a reasonable number of edible fruits, and it's even got a few tucked away back down here as well. Obviously next to it I've got my pawpaw. American pawpaw has got a couple of bunches of fruits on it. They're pretty slow developing, the fruits, I've got to say. Not a particularly good size, but at least it's got some fruits on it. There's a bunch of 5 there, and I think there's another bunch of another 3 here, and there's 1 or 2 smaller ones elsewhere in the tree if they haven't fallen off, but I can't see them amongst the leaves at the moment. But I did notice, I think there was one higher up. We'll see later on when the leaves start to drop, we'll better see those a bit easier. But the tree itself is looking great, a little bit yellow, looks like it might need some water, so I'll get the hose out on it. Progressing around the garden to my little raised bed. This plant here is, well, Chilean guavas. These are my kapow. There's 2 kapow here, and for the first time it looks like I'm going to get some decent edible fruits on, and they're bigger than I've had before on Chilean guava, so I'm really pleased about those. Both plants have got berries on them, and the one next to it is Villarica strawberry, much smaller fruits, but they seem to be developing quite nicely. Looking at the front here, I've got my carabine tree, starting to put out some new shoots again. No signs, it's growing at the top as well. No signs, of course, of any flowers on it. It once produced a few flowers the first year I got it, and then of course it got cut back by cold weather, and it's never had a flower on it since. So maybe it had a grafted variety on it, and maybe we're now on the seedling rootstock. No way to know, but at least it's growing quite nicely. I can thread my way through the side here. We can have a look at my Gemini pineapple guava. Again, that's got a reasonable number of fruits on it. Look as if probably about 7 or 8 fruits that look as if they may get to an edible size. It's probably worth pulling off these little, if these got very tiny stunted fruitlets on it, sometimes it's worth pulling them off just to encourage the others to grow, but most of these will get to an edible size. That one probably won't. And these ones here, I think, you see there's 2 there. I'll probably pull off the smaller one of the 2 and just leave the one larger one if I can without knocking it off, and leave that one, and hopefully that will develop better. So I'm going to slip through the back here. Look at my in-ground strawberry guava, doing quite nicely now. No flowers on it this year because it got cut back again by the cold, but it's put out nice strong growth. Lovely colours on the new stems here, and these leaves, which are a little bit hardier, hopefully will hold up well. And quite interestingly, I've got suckers coming up from my Passiflora incarnata, which is over there on the wall, and I'm quite pleased about that because they won't get out of control, but it means that the root systems are well established, and I could probably remove that sucker and maybe sell it to someone if they want an incarnata. Can't really show you the flowers very easily on this because they're right up the top, but it's still got flowers on it. No fruit set at all. It did set one fruit, but that dried up and fell off. And next to it I've got Caerulea, which has got flowers on it, you can probably see there, and that also has not set any fruit. So I was kind of hoping these two would cross-pollinate each other, but obviously that's not to be this year, and hopefully when the Caerulea grows more next year we'll have more chance of cross-pollination. I've got another one of the little varieties here in this pot. This is another variety of Incarnata which I planted this year, starting to get growing now, but I'm not sure which one of them is. But it's not a normal Incarnata, it's a you know, it's one of the named varieties. Might be, oh, what's it called? There's a white one and another purple one. I think one's called Ear Pop here, and the other one is the white one, which I forget what it's called. But anyway, seems to be suffering a little bit. It's probably had some snail and slug damage on it, but I think it's going to be okay. And here is a little Melissima, which of course won't survive the winter, but I didn't have anywhere to plant it, so I just thought I'd stick it in the ground for fun. I will try and put some protection on it in winter just to see. Moving on to my jujubes, only the Lee set fruit. The Lang never had a single fruit set on it, but obviously unfortunately these are much too late in the season. They're not even as big as peas. There's zero chance of any of these fruits getting to an edible size before the plant goes dormant. In fact, most of them are turning yellow and dropping off, which probably isn't a bad thing because it would allow, there's no point leaving the ones that are very yellow on. I suppose what I should do is pull everything off except 2 or 3 fruits and see if maybe they amount to something. But at least it's setting fruits. It's just not, they're just not going to be big enough to eat. Asian pears are doing great. This is my Shinziki. Next to it, these are probably getting very close to being ripe now. Because I've left them in bags. Well there we are, that one's just dropped off, so that answers that question. That is probably a ripe fruit, so I'll come back and pick that up in a short while. I'll just pull it off now if I can. I'm going to take that with me. Great, it's tangled up on the thing. It's a two-handed job. Let me just pause the video a second. Okay, so this is not a particularly big fruit, and I noticed, I think the reason it's dropped off prematurely is despite the bag protection, there's a hole in the bottom. So when I cut this one in half, although I think it's going to be edible, parts of it, it's also going to have a codling moth grub in this, unfortunately. I think most of the others have escaped. I noticed on this one I could see the little the leftovers in the bag, which suggests codling moth, but the other ones at the moment I can't see anything in the bags to suggest they've been affected. So I think these other fruits will stay on longer and ripen fully, because obviously having the grubs in them tends to make them ripen a bit earlier than they should do, and they drop prematurely, but we'll see what happens. So carrying on with the plants, I don't need to show you the other in great detail the other trees, except to show you that I've got a Kumoy here, the only Kumoy fruit I've got, and that's more of a sort of dark gold and fleck fruit. Can't see any obvious signs of codling moth dirt in there, so I'm hoping that one will be edible, and that would be exciting to try. Just moving back here a little bit, this is my in-ground bacon avocado, seedling one. Came from a gentleman called Mike Gee, who'd been growing it outside down on the Sussex coast. It's looking pretty healthy, to be honest. Obviously I'll have to be working out how to protect that in winter. Moving back round, we've got my, shouldn't really be counted in my outside plants, but this is my Grimmichama. Still got 1 or 2 fruits holding on it. I think there's another one over here, but it looks very small. Oh, there's one that's a little bit bigger at the back there. There's only 2 fruits that they might look like they might get to be edible on it. Whether or not I should bag them to protect them is another matter, because I can imagine that getting knocked off by an animal very easily. Behind that, tucked away, is my Szechuan pepper tree, Xanthosxylum bungianum. You can probably see that the peppers are approaching ripeness now. They turn a sort of a dark red when they're ripe and split open, and you eat the casings, not the seeds in the middle. Next to it, I've got my Prima. Pawpaw has got a handful of fruits on it, maybe, I think there's maybe only about 3 or 4 fruits left. I suspect the others have dropped off prematurely, perhaps in the winds we have. I haven't really looked, I've been following it closely, to be honest. Oh, you can see what goes on here. Look at this snap stem. Clearly that is a result of, I would imagine, as I've not done that, I would imagine that's a squirrel or a big pigeon has knocked that off. So that's another branch and fruit left, but I've still got some costata, but they're a long way from being ready, at least a month or two. So I don't think if I take this one inside and put it in a bag with a banana, anything's going to come of it, but we might try and see, just on the off chance it'll ripen. I cut back my Nikita's Gift hard because it was straggly and looking very poorly, and I was hoping to get a lot more growth on it, but to be honest, it's barely put anything out at all, so that's not doing at all well. Basically, the persimmons, I've only got a couple of the trees have got a few fruits on them. It's been a very bad year for persimmons, and of course the fact that I grow them in pots hasn't helped. I think there's a couple of Morris Burton and a couple of Chocolatinos, and I'll just have to hope that with there's another one there on another variety. I'm not sure what the variety is, but you can just about see the fruit underneath there. Might be a Hiratanashi, not 100% sure, but really it's been a poor year for persimmons, and I have got very few fruits on them. I think there's one gyro, no Rojo Brillant, and as I said, just a few Chocolatinos, and they badly need watering. So my next job in a minute is going to be heavily watering the persimmons, so the few fruits on don't fall off. All of these potted figs haven't really done a thing. I've got some for sale at the moment. Whether or not any of them will go, I don't know, and that's because I need to make room to put the persimmons in bigger pots and bring them forward a bit more. Some of my other pineapple guava varieties, there's a few very small fruits on this one here, which I think is Coolidge. I can't see them getting to an edible size this year, unfortunately, because the plant flowered late for whatever reason. Again, plenty more figs here. Having a quick look at my large in-ground fig tree. It's got a lot of main crop figs on it, but I can see they're starting to turn yellow and dry out, so I don't think I'm going to get many main crop figs, but the ones that stay on will probably be ready in about mid-October. But I thought we were going to get more main crop figs, but it seems to be aborting them. Again, I don't know if that's lack of water. The leaves don't look stressed, but it could be due to lack of water. Whether or not any will ripen up a bit earlier. There's actually some up there that almost look, there's one there looks like it's trying to ripen early, which is a bit unusual. I wouldn't expect to get a main crop fig. Let's get this side. Look, I wouldn't expect to have had a main crop fig unless it's a very late Braber. That almost does look like it's edible. I might pull it off and have a look and see if it's dry inside. Yeah, so carrying on with the tour, we've got the my two loquats been doing nicely, or loquats been doing nicely this year. No sign of any of the type of growth that would have flower buds on, unfortunately. I keep thinking they're going to flower because these are grafted plants, and they keep letting me down every year. Perhaps they're too restricted in pots, but I have got them in very large grow bags, and they look healthy, but they just don't produce. Dried out fig there. They just don't produce any flowers. If I just sneak round the back, we can see how the chocolate vines are doing. There's a huge number of fruits. This is insane, look. and these are getting to the point where soon they'll be starting to ripen up. If I walk down here, I mean, it's just absolutely loaded. It's a shame they're not a bit more palatable, but it's got huge quantities of fruit. So all I'm going to be doing this year is probably trying to sieve the seeds out and then juicing them, because the juice should be okay and smooth. This might even make it into an ice cream if I feel like being very adventurous. Looks like I've got one Morris Burton fig, persimmon even this year, just one. But this poor plant's really suffering from lack of water, so I'm going to have to give that a very, very good watering. Look at it, bone dry. Don't even get any rain at the back here, not that we've had any rain recently. So let's sneak back through here again. That's about it for the tour, not a lot to report really. One of my loquats here, kumquats even, and that's got the graft on it of a Owari Satsuma. That graft's still looking alive. Not sure about the second graft here, that doesn't look very lively, probably needs watering. This is my other little kumquat that I bare rooted and showed recently. Even tried to set a couple of fruits on it, but I don't think they'll hold. Again, I think that needs a very good watering. And then basically we're just looking at my apricots, very dry. A couple more persimmon trees here. Family apple, that's my Che there. And two of my mulberries. See how sunny it is, and they're shrivelling as well. Got to get that water hose out. So that's really a roundup of all of that's one of the grafted persimmons that came from Gardening Express. That's done fabulously this year. I attempted some grafts again on a rootstock on persimmons, and again it's failed. That's the persimmon I got from Thomas. That one sadly hasn't made it, that one's died. You have to be patient with them, and sometimes they come up. But the other one I got from Thomas is growing okay. It's just a problem with bare root persimmons on occasions. Tried another graft here, and that again doesn't seem to have taken. It started to take and now it's died off, so I'm not really very fortunate with my persimmon grafting. And that's it for the tour. Skimmed over a few bits and pieces. You can see the figs are all starting to drop now, unfortunately, and this is what seems to happen. It aborted all the Brabus this year, and now it's dropping all the main crop figs, so very frustrating. But I'll go back and pick up that one and see if by any chance it's edible. So that's my garden roundup. I'm sure I'll have missed a few plants, but I've tried to pick out the things that I thought might be of interest to people. Thanks for watching. If you're stuck with the whole video, much appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up. This one's a Japanese raisin tree. Share the video if you think people would be interested in anything I grow. Please subscribe to my channel, and remember you must click on the bell if you want to know when the videos come out. See you all soon. Brett out for now.